Today's video is for those who wish to migrate to New Zealand. I'm sure you want to know the most in-demand occupation currently in New Zealand. We obviously know that the New Zealand is struggling with labor shortage, and that is why they've launched several visas and are even planning to launch more in October. So you would want to know which occupation are currently in high demand, and that's what I'll be talking about in today's video. So hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name is FaithOjone, and on this channel I talk about ways you can travel abroad and settle abroad, and I also provide you with resources on how you can get started. If this is the kind of content you like, hit the subscribe button to join the family and give this video a like. Without saying so much, let's get straight into the video. New Zealand has its shortage occupation list, but right now it has been replaced by the green list. So the shortage occupation list is no longer updated, so the best one to use is the green list. And based on your profession, you can either qualify for the straight to resident visa or the work to resident visa. For the straight to resident visa, when you get a job with an accredited employer in New Zealand, whether you're in New Zealand or outside in New Zealand, you can then apply for your resident visa, straight to resident, and you'll be moving to New Zealand with a resident permit and also a job, which is great. So now let's look at the current occupation that are in high demand. If they're in high demand, that will be the occupation that they will focus on hiring people for, so which will be a good thing for you to know so that you can jump on the opportunity as soon as you can. So I have the list here with me. We'll go through it together. Use the green list search to see if your role is Tier 1 straight to resident or Tier 2 work to resident. Check what qualifications, registration, or experience you need for straight to resident or work to resident visa application. Some of the occupations are anesthetic technicians. They are eligible for the Tier 2 role, work to resident. The second one is audiologist, which is also eligible for the Tier 2 work to resident. Then automotive electricians, they are also on the Tier 2 role, eligible for work to resident. Another one is chemical engineer. They are eligible for the Tier 1 straight to resident. Chief information officer, Tier 1 straight to resident visa. Then the civil engineers, they are eligible for the straight to resident visa as well. Civil engineering technician, they are eligible for the Tier 1 straight to resident. If your occupation should fall under the straight to resident visa, you just apply for your residency. But if yours is under the work to resident, that means if you migrate to New Zealand with the work visa, you have to spend 2 years on the work visa before you can apply for your residency. That's what it means. So clinical psychologist is Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Construction project manager, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Dairy cattle farm, Tier 2 role, work to resident. Dermatologist, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Diagnostic and interventional radiologist, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Diesel motor mechanic, including heavy vehicle inspector, Tier 2 role, work to resident. Early childhood primary school teacher, registered, Tier 2 role, work to resident. Educational psychologist, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Electrical engineers, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Electrical engineer technicians, Tier 1 role as well, straight to resident. Electrician general, Tier 2 role, work to resident. Electronic engineering technicians, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Electronic engineer, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Engineering profession, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Environmental engineer, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Environmental research scientist, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. Food technologist, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. General practitioner, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. IT project manager, Tier 1 role, straight to resident. ICT managers, tier 1 role, straight to resident. ICT security specialist, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Industrial engineers, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Material engineers, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Medical laboratory scientists, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Medical radiation therapy, tier 2 role, work to resident. Midwife, tier 2 role, work to resident. Obstetrician and gynecologist, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Occupational therapist, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse community health, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse critical care and emergency, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse development disability, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse medical practice, tier 2 role, work to resident. Registered nurse mental health, tier 2 role, work to resident. Secondary school teacher, tier 2 role, work to resident. Software engineer, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Telecommunication engineer, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Veterinarian, tier 1 role, straight to resident. Vascular surgeon, tier 1 role, straight to resident. These are all the list. I mentioned most of the occupation in this video, trust me. But if you want to see them for yourself, I'll leave the link in the description box below. I mean, it seems like they want people in the health sector, construction and engineers, and IT. I mean, these are the two sectors that they really mentioned on the green list. So if you're in the health sector, if you're a nurse, a doctor, a psychologist, mental health, if you're in the health sector, you are needed in New Zealand. You're part of the shortage occupation. If you're a construction worker, you're also needed in New Zealand. If you're a mechanic, mechanical engineers, and also if you're in the IT sector, project manager. And for IT, there are not a lot, maybe just like 3, but you're also needed in New Zealand. You need to always check the list to know if they've updated it or not. I'll leave the link to the green list in the description box below so you can go check it out. And also, if you're looking for jobs in New Zealand, I'll leave the link to a website you should look out for. Website you can search for jobs in New Zealand in the description box below. So we have come to the end of this video. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Every single song tells me we're through, yeah, but I can't turn it